Hello, Math 8. Welcome back. Mrs. Davidson here. We're going to fly into a brand new module, and it's going to take us all the way to winter break. So this video and the next video are that fundamental needs, the fundamental daily stuff that we're going to use in this module. So it's important that we understand this video and the next. Please take a moment, grab a graph sheet of paper if you have one. If you don't, any paper will do. It just might make it a little bit more difficult in a little bit. And have a conversation with yourself or a pet or a stuffed animal or a friend or a sibling or something. It's just important that you talk out loud. Talking about math is a really great way of remembering what it is that you're learning. So take a moment, pause the video, and I want you to tell yourself or whoever it is that you're talking to what your favorite holiday is and why. And then recall what a coordinate point is. What does a coordinate point look like? When you're done with all of that, there you are going to write a definition on your actual paper of what you think a coordinate point is. Okay, the sole purpose of today is to describe and identify all of the parts in a coordinate plane. And we're going to do that by labeling everything. In other words, it's a lot of vocab. Well, hopefully you can recall that a coordinate point looks like this. It has an X and a Y. We put them in parentheses, and hopefully you came up with a definition. So take a moment, discuss with yourself if you like your definition, discuss with somebody around you if you have somebody around you, what they think it is, compare those definitions. A coordinate point is an ordered pair of values on a graph. An ordered pair I put in parentheses because sometimes we actually use ordered pair instead of coordinate point. It means the exact same thing. It's pretty much just values on a graph. So now that you know that a coordinate point is values on a graph, why don't you think about what the purpose is? What's the whole idea of having a coordinate point? A coordinate point's entire purpose is to give a very specific location on a graph. I like to say that this specific location is like the address. We're giving the address of where we are going on a graph. And in the real world, what that does is it gives meaning to the data. If there's data collected in the real world, like how much something is and how much you're going to buy with it, we can actually graph that. And so that's coordinate point gives us a very specific location on a graph, and it gives us meaning to the data. So when it gives us a specific location, how does it do that? What does the X do? What does the Y do? That X gives us a value or gives us the location left and right. And that Y gives us a value or gives us that specific location up or down on a graph. Okay, now comes the part where graph paper would be super handy. Again, if you don't have graph paper, go ahead and sketch a graph anyway. Just make it so it's just sketched. Don't spend a ton of time on it. And I want you guys to pause the video and then label all of the parts that we have over here. So what is the axis? What is the origin? What are the quadrants? What are the signs? Pause the video, sketch a graph, label the parts as you know them. Well, first things first, it's probably good to know what the heck an axis even is. And an axis in a graph is those bold lines that we have right there in the middle of the graph. And we said earlier that the X's are the ones that show us left and right. So our X axis is the horizontal line in the middle of the graph that we drew. And the y-axis we said was up and down, or y's were up and down. So the axis are the ones that are up and down. So an origin then is exactly what it sounds like. The origin of everything on a number line is 0. And we know right in the center of this graph is that origin. And we know that its value is 0 for the x and 0 for the y. Let's recall that a coordinate point is x, y. That's going to be super helpful. Okay, as you can notice in our graph, we have, sorry, you're going to hear the tapping of my pen. We have 4 little squares that are created. Can you see them? I'm kind of highlighting a couple. So quad literally means 4, and we have 4 quadrants or quadrants. Take a moment, see if you can label the quadrants. How do you know what they are? Let's see if you can do that. If you said that quadrant 1 was in the upper left-hand corner, that makes sense because that's how we read. However, that's not how mathematicians are. We like to start in everything positive, and then we'll let the negativity come into our world. So when I say we're going to start where everything is positive, we're going to start in this upper right-hand corner. This upper right-hand corner is our quadrant 1. And we say that it's our quadrant 1 because we know that our x values on the right side of the origin are positive. And we know that the up values from the origin, or the y values, are also positive. And again, we like to start in positivity for our quadrants. So with our quadrants then, our quadrant 2 is going to be in the upper right-hand corner, or excuse me, left-hand corner. The upper left-hand corner is quadrant 2. And in quadrant 2, our x values are on the left side of 0, so we know that they're negative. They're also on the upper side of 0 for the y, so wait, then it's positive. Interesting. Pause the video, see if you can fill in quadrant 3 and 4 on your own. All right, compare your answers with what's on the board now. Did you get that? So there's a couple of things I want you to notice. Notice that when we label the quadrants, I'm labeling it with Roman numerals. The reason we do them with Roman numerals is because we got to give credit where credit is due. And the first time they actually talked about quadrants was all the way back when the Romans were rulers of the world. That's crazy, right? So we just give them some kudos and go ahead and call them the Roman numerals for the quadrants. If you have ever been to my classroom, you know that I have a slight obsession with owls. Okay, slight is an understatement. I have a big obsession with owls. And in my math world, I was super excited to see that these signs create little bitty owl faces. So if you look at this positive for the signs in quadrant 1, it looks like owls that have their eyes open. And if you look at this negative positive, to me, it looks like owls that are winking. And again, the negative, that would look like an owl is sleeping. And a positive negative, an owl is winking with the other eye, which I can't do. I can only wink with one eye. These quadrants are good to know because we know that the X and the Y give us a very specific location. The quadrants are kind of the neighborhood that location is in. So it makes it a little easier to understand what we're talking about with data before we even talk about data. I think that's pretty interesting. All right, so it's up to you now to practice. The very first thing you're going to do is sketch a new graph. If you've got graphing paper, that makes it easy. Make sure that you always, can I emphasize that enough? Always label your axes. So we're going to do that first. Y, X, negative Y, negative X. We're going to label our points. When I say label our points, I'm going to say give them a letter. So this point's going to be A, this point's going to be C, or B, this point's going to be C. And when I plot that point, I'm then going to give it the name. So let's start with that first one, negative 7, 7. We know, again, that our points are always X, Y. And our X tells us left and right. Our Y tells us up and down. So we're going to go to the left because it's negative from our origin, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to go up because it's positive 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to label that A. So now that you have an idea of how it is that I want you to label your graphs, go ahead, pause the video, and plot the rest of the points. When you're done plotting the points, those that are in blue, connect them. Does it make a shape? Those that are in purple, connect them. Does it make a shape? And those that are in green, connect them. Does it make a shape? Here are the answers. Take a moment, pause the video, check yours. Correct the ones that are incorrect. Well, we can't just plot a point. Sometimes we're at a house and we have to check and see what the address is. So we're going to go backwards now. We're going to see what those actual coordinate points are for the points that are already plotted on the graph. Again, first things first, label the axes. So I'm going to find A. Looks like it's up here. Okay. And I'm going to look at the point for A, and I'm going to see what the value is of X. Well, let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over. So I know that the X value is 6, and it's on the positive side since it's on the right side of where the origin is. And now I need to know the Y value. So I'm going to count up because I'm going in that up or down direction for Y. And it's positive since I'm going up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know that A is 6, 7. Pause the video and you do the rest. All right, there are your answers. You're going to see that I like to write things off to the side. I wrote it as X, Y. I also wrote that we know that X is left and right, Y is up and down. This helps me remember when I'm getting that location that I'm not mixing up the order. My question for you is, let's look at H. H we know is 0, -7, and that X value is 0 because I didn't move left or right, so it's just at 0. But my question for you is, what quadrant is that in? Okay, we're going to wrap this up. I want you to answer the following 2 questions on your paper. That X is in the coordinate point means what? And what's one specific thing that you need to make sure you just never forget about this? So if you are in class, you are going to practice in class. If you are at home, I'm going to scroll and you're going to see lots and lots to practice. So if you're at home, pause the video and you're going to practice using these 3 problems. You know I wouldn't leave you hanging. Here are the answers so that you can compare and fix the ones you got wrong. It's been a pleasure. Take care.